Residents of Bille, a remote oil-producing community in Rivers State, say an unseen threat is already inside their daily lives. They report gas bubbling through homes, school grounds, creeks and mangroves, and fear that a single spark could trigger a major disaster. Civil society groups and community leaders on Wednesday urged the federal government to declare an emergency and prepare an evacuation plan for the community. The call followed the Abuja presentation of Bille is Highly Flammable, a documentary and report by Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa.
This is Bille, an island community in Digima local government area of Rivers State. For generations, its creeks and waterways have provided fish and other aquatic resources, sustained families, and shaped the community's way of life. Bille also lies within one of the Niger Delta's major oil and gas corridors. Yet, residents have seen little of the wealth extracted from their homeland. Instead, they are now facing an environmental and public health emergency. Bille is surrounded by oil wells, pipelines and other petroleum infrastructure associated with oil mining leases 18 and 24. The wider landscape includes
Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa. Executive Director Akinbode Oluwafemi said residents had reported gas emissions since October 2025, alongside polluted air, contaminated groundwater, health complaints and disruption of fishing and schooling.
Residents also spoke about respiratory problems, vomiting and other illnesses which health authorities have associated with gas emissions. But perhaps the most disturbing part was the fear. Imagine living 24 hours in fear. Imagine having to think twice before you cook or performing normal domestic activities in your home, because you do not know whether an invisible gas accumulating around you could just ignite. That is the grim realities families now face in Bille. One of the most striking sights we encountered was a vessel at the waterfront loaded with bags of sachet water. Reportedly, one of the few forms of relief provided since this crisis began. Yet, this supply is grossly inadequate for a community of thousands and thousands of people. Bille is surrounded by water, but its people cannot safely drink. Households now depend heavily on sachet water for drinking, cooking, bathing, and other domestic needs. A bag sells for as much as 1,000 naira, while some families require up to 10 bags a day, an impossible burden for many residents. What we saw, recall the immortal words of the great Abami Edafela Nicola Pokuti that says, water you no get enemy. But in Bille, the water that once sustained the people, that once sustained the community, has become a source of fear. This is the public health and environmental emergency that Bille has become. Bille now is highly flammable. Bille is not an isolated story, sadly. Across Nigeria's oil-producing regions, communities have for decades raised concerns about pollution, environmental degradation, loss of livelihoods, and inadequate responses to environmental emergencies. Too often, however, the voices that dominated the public conversation are those of governments, regulators, and corporations. But with this documentary, CAPPA wants the people of Bille to speak for themselves and for Nigerians to understand what is really at stake. Our documentary draws on field investigations, community testimonies, and available regulatory findings. We are not presenting it simply as a story of suffering, but also as a story as a call for answer and a call to action.
Bille youth leader Timothy Ogunbiadi said the emissions were spreading and alleged that 4 major fires had occurred.
Sometimes want to make me get emotional because we just begin to think whether we are not part of Nigeria. And just like Mama just said, that she's hearing the name for the first time, I know that there are other places where when you mention their name too, you will hear it for the first time. But the situation surrounding Bille Kingdom is supposed to bring this community on the map of Nigeria seriously, because the community, just like our DC have said, is giving Nigeria what Nigeria is using to sustain or survive. Major part of it is coming from that community. So what is going on in Bille is actually a case of gas leakage. I mentioned gas leakage somewhere, and somebody was trying to attack me, saying you can't call it leakage. Let's stay with seepage. Seepage is leakage. The reason being that this thing began 2025, as it has been recorded, and is increasing by the day. As I speak with you, I left home yesterday. I can guarantee you that by the time I get back home, there will be more places bubbling. And if you want a chronological documentation of that, I can provide it. The places that were not bubbling before, since the 6th of July when CAPPA came, is bubbling now, and bubbling more seriously. And the pungent smell is palpable. Then it's affecting people's health. Now, let me use myself as an example, okay? Whoever have seen me before now, maybe a week, 2-3 weeks ago, will know this is not how I look. I've been having serious health challenge, very serious one. And I cannot account for what is really wrong with me, even as I speak with you. My wife developed some kind of rashes on her back about 3 months ago. When Amnesty International came 2 months ago, I practically showed her to them. The rashes will come, it will go. And if you are trying to apply something on that rashes, you that you are applying the balm or whatever you are applying, you will even be running away from the one carrying the problem, because the heat that is being generated from that rash is very serious. And I thought we have passed it until 5 or 6 days ago. She woke me up early in the morning and said, my back is heavy. When I looked at her again, and the thing will come heavily. And that is the experience. People, just like you see from the documentary, people are having rashes. Some people are having this throat. I'm experiencing it too. This dryness of throat, and sometimes you just lost word. I'm a very fast speaker. I speak very fast. I've been a pastor for 27 years, so I talk a lot, but this is not how I talk. So I'm a direct victim of this thing that is on ground. And it has affected our economy. Ecologically, Bille is dead. The Kamaboko community, where I come from, has never been given any, never, I repeat, been given any developmental attention since 1956, when oil exploration and production began at Abuja oil field. from Shell, now handed over to Renaissance, whatever. They are all of them are still there, the same. You know? And my youth representation is the first one ever for that kingdom, because the community was totally marginalized and forgotten. And this is the first time we are bringing a youth representation